Hi everyone, this is Simon from acubemy, and today we're going to be reviewing a solve from one of our users. Thank you Drawlins for submitting your solve. Now, why should you trust my advice? While I'm not a world-class cuber myself, I have been cubing since 2012. I've reached a mid 8-second average with my main method ZZ in the WCA competition, but I also average low 10 seconds with RU and CFOP. I've taught a bunch of beginners to cube, and I've learned a lot of tricks and algorithms in my time, so I feel somewhat qualified to give advice up to roughly that level. So, let's have a look at the solve. For this solve, I want to focus on two specific themes, Fingertricks and move count. As a little bit of background, there are three components to getting fast: your turning speed, your move count, and your look ahead. At 30 seconds average, look ahead is not relevant yet, and turning speed builds by repetition. But you can already set yourself up for a much easier time down the road by building good habits when it comes to fluent execution and a move count that's as low as possible. Now I will go through each method step and point out what could be improved, with an emphasis on these two topics. So, looking at the scramble, you chose to do the yellow cross, which is honestly a pretty good choice. You have this piece already down here, this one already connected to the red, and the blue one on the same side, which is right next to the orange one. The last one is up here. What you decided to do was start out with a D to solve this piece and an L to solve this piece, where the blue pieces come up here. Now, you saw that you still have to insert this one, and you decided to bring it back here, aligning the blue one at the same time, and then inserting like this. Here's the first thing I want to point out. While this is a fine insert to do in a lot of cases, you can actually make it a little better by not regripping to the thumb on top, but actually doing it like this, and sliding the layer over with your fingers, saving you a regrip in the process. You ended up with an F2, which you solved like this, and this is fine. In total, it's a 7-move cross, but I will show you how to save another 2 moves here and make use of all the nice piece positions. To save moves in this cross, you have to recognize that this blue cross piece is already in a good position relative to this orange piece. If we just turn it down here, these two are already solved relative to each other. But that alone doesn't really help us much, because the green piece is still stuck up here. Before we do that, we can do a U-turn like this. Then pull the blue piece down here, and the green piece will align back here, while the red piece basically stays connected to the red center. Now the rest of the cross is solved in 3 moves. 1, 2, 3, putting us at 5 moves total. Now you may have noticed that this was horrible to execute. So let me show you how to actually do it ergonomically. The key to executing this cross nicely is to not hold blue in front, but green in front. That way, we can avoid all regrips and rotations and L moves. Now, the execution goes like this. We bring the green piece here with a U. There is an R prime to solve the blue piece relative to the orange piece. We do a D, solving these two pieces with the left ring finger. And we already have our index finger up here, so we can just finish with an F and R2, which is really fluent, and by coincidence, also sets up a really nice F2L pair. Now, let's get to the F2L. Here I want to talk about a really important topic, probably the most important habit you should get used to around the 30-second mark already, which is pair selection. This will save you a lot of moves down the line, and it will make look ahead easier as you get faster. What do you want to be looking for as you finish your cross? The first thing you want to do is look around the top layer for pieces of F2L pairs. The first F2L pairs you want to solve are always the ones that have both pieces, the corner and the edge, already in the top layer. Here, it's the blue-orange pair. Sometimes it happens that you have no pair exclusively in the top layer. The next priority is to look at what you can see in the front slots and look at pairs where the edge is oriented, so you can solve them without a cube rotation. For example, this pair, which is the first one I would do here, you could just pair it up with an L prime, U2, L. This is really nice and fast and sets you up for a 3-move insert, but it is not oriented because I would have to either do an F prime, U2, F, or rotate to solve it instead. This is not ideal, but in this case there is actually no pair that you can solve without an F move or a cube rotation. Having this pair with both pieces on top would still be the best choice. Let's look at what you did instead. You started out with a sexy move, presumably to get this corner out of its slot. Then you took the other piece of this pair out from back here, which you did very nicely, setting up a 3-mover. For this 3-mover, again, you would need either a cube rotation, this is what I would do, or you need to insert it in the back. You, however, solved it with B moves, which is never a good idea. There's also a really nice trick you could do though, which is an F wide prime to pair it up here, turn it back there, and finish it with an F wide. This saves you the cube rotation and still has decent execution. For the second pair, I need to point out pair selection again. The reason is that this blue-orange pair, which you didn't solve the first time, has now turned into a 4-mover. U prime, F prime, U, F. Really good. Now, you opted instead to do this pair, probably because it jumped into your eye first, as it's much more visible and salient. That is generally fine if you're trying to look ahead, but remember, look ahead is not that important at around 30 seconds. It pays much more to build the good habit of having a very low move count solution now, rather than pay for it later. Now, let's look at your solution. You brought this corner over here, took the edge out of the slot, creating this 3-move case, and brought it back to the front, ready to insert the 3 moves. Very similar to your first solution, and honestly a very good solution if you do choose to do this case. But this is where the problems start. This is a very basic F2L case, and you should never really be thinking about how to do this. You should always be able to do it blindly from every angle, basically without regripping. You think for a while here, and then you go like this, this, and this, which is 4 rotations or regrips for 3 moves. Now, this can be improved massively by using your index finger flicks for F, middle for U, and left index for F prime, keeping your thumbs in front the whole time, no regrips. Or, if that feels a little complicated, it's always fine to just rotate once here and insert the pair like this. Moving on to the third pair. We have both pairs remaining with both pieces in the top layer, so you only have to decide between these two. You opted to go for the blue-orange one, as it's much more visible in front, but I would argue that the other one is actually nicer. The edge is oriented, so you can solve it without a rotation and without a regrip, like this. You bring the pair back here, you separate the edge from the corner with a R, U2, R prime, and then just insert, like this. Instead, you opted to go for the other pair, which is honestly not that much worse. You have to rotate once, and then you executed it like this, which is perfect, so I don't have anything to complain about here. Now, for the final F2L pair, you did a U2, rotated it, and set up the same case as before, and rotated it again. I just want to point out that this is a very common F2L case. You should be able to recognize this one and have a pre-made solution ready every time without thinking. Now, for this one, you can actually solve it without rotations. There are 2 common possibilities. You can study both of these on acubemy with our F2L trainer. I would highly advise doing this algorithmically, but there is some logic to it. My favorite solution is the spammable one, where you put the edge in, like this, bring the corner back over, bring the edge back out to make this pair, and then U2 and insert. But the other solution is even shorter, and it goes like this. R, U2, R2, U prime, R2, U prime, R prime. For the last layer, you did 2-look OLL and then PLL. And I don't want to say too much about that, because of course, you could always learn more OLL algorithms, but you don't need me for that, and you can always do that with the trainers on acubemy. I just want to point out a thing or two about the execution. First, you did U prime and then the wide F move to solve this L case, which goes like this, F wide, sexy. And now again, you rotate it to do this wide F move, but here you can again either do a thumb, so you don't have to rotate, or use the index here. Learning these kinds of finger tricks early really has a massive payoff in the end, because you get used to them and they are then about the same speed as your other finger tricks. As you get faster, everything is then well balanced and you will see that you can turn a lot smoother. For the Soon, it's the same thing. You did something along those lines. Regrip, regrip, and then U prime, U prime. But a Soon should never have any regrips. This is the correct execution. You go R, you keep your thumb up here, you push the U with your left index, R prime with the right index, and then you finish off with a lefty U2. I cannot stress enough how important it is to learn this lefty U2 very early. I myself only learned it when I was sub 15, and to this very day, with many years in between, I can still tell that it is a weak spot of mine. The earlier you learn, the better. Now for the PLL, you have this G perm, and you have the perfect algorithm for it, but again, you do a lot of regrips, especially with your right hand. Here, I really want to give you a little tip on how to practice this. Basically, make it a challenge for you to really keep your right hand on the cube. Do not move it. Glue your fingers to the cube. This one, you start from here and try not to move your thumb or your middle finger off the cube ever. If you have to push with your left index finger, that's completely fine. Just do it. So it looks something like this. Not taking my thumb off, not taking my middle finger off, and now for the first time, I have to regrip. But that's fine, because while I regrip, I can do U prime and D at the same time. I have replaced my thumb here, and I can just insert and push the D prime, so it's one regrip while I do 2 other moves, and the whole algorithm becomes very smooth. So in summary, I would say you're on a very good path to becoming faster at 3x3, and at your current speed, I would recommend 2 things to really get you to improve quickly. First, learn those fancier, more intricate finger tricks. Get used to the muscle memory and try to avoid regrips more than rotations. Rotations are often fine, but you shouldn't have that many regrips. Second, maybe sit down and don't even try to solve for a while. Just take your time, go through the F2L, go through the cross, and try to save moves wherever you can. Try different solutions and really drive that move count down. As soon as you know F2L and PLL, your move count with CFOP should honestly never be higher than 60. Alright, I hope you liked this format and I hope you could learn something, especially if you're around the same speed. If you did, leave a like and maybe a comment. If this video is well received, we might make this format a weekly thing, and we'll review a lot more solves from different speed levels. We will announce on our Discord when we're taking new submissions, so check that out in the description. If you want to analyze your solves like this, or you want to train ALEX and much more, head over to acubemy.com and make an account.